All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I would like to say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rekak Wadash. That is to say, all praise to the Most High God, whose name is Yahweh, and the name of his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, through the Holy Spirit, Rekak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone who taught us this truth. Shalom to the 144,000, as well as to the rest of the hopeful righteous elect, men, women, and children of Israel scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth, among the heathen, as well as those that even look like the heathen. All right, this is not a black or white thing. I'm the brother Yara Donbot from the GMS branch here in Chicago, coming back at you with what I hope to be another short yet edifying lesson, and heavy on the edification. All right, because in this lesson, I want to go over some different study tips. All right, because it was just talking to a few brothers in the spirit, some Jakes, they said like, yeah, I never really had to learn to study or figure it out, So and in my years of having to deal with scholarship and academia, it's some things that I ran across, and I feel like it would be very helpful to the rest of the body. All right, and at the end of the day, all things here are for edification in the first place, right? So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. I want to start with this word here for edification. All right, it's oikotome, oikotome, Strong's G3619, oikotome. It says that the act of building up, metaphorically, edifying and edification. The act of one who promotes another's growth in the Christian wisdom, which we know the Christians were Israelites who were first called Christians in Antioch, right? Promotes another's growth in Christian wisdom, piety, happiness, and holiness. And growing in that the faith, growing in that wisdom, it is a lot that has to do with that is studying. All right, we have to study. So this is Lord willing, like I said, this will be edifying, man. So I want to get a few scriptures, then I got a few articles I'm gonna go into, and then that'll be it. I done grabbed the wrong screens. There we go. All right, and Lord willing, that'll be it. So let's go ahead to this classic. 2 Timothy 2, chapter 15. It says, study to show thyself approved unto the Most High, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. And let's get a few words in. All right, so first, spudazo, study. It's the same word for diligence, because we have to diligently walk this walk out, man. We have to diligently make sure we're growing in the faith. All right, so it says to hasten, make haste, to exert oneself, endeavor or give diligence, to make effort, be prompt or earnest, do or give diligence, to be diligent or forward, endeavor, labor, and study. So we have to labor and study in this thing, all right? And in order to do that, you truly have to know how to labor and study. You have to know how. And like I said, that's that same word that's in that Peter, 2 Peter 1:10, wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if you do these things, you should never fall. All right. So that's that one. Let's go ahead and go to the next one, because you also have to understand too. One of the things about studying is finding the balance. All right, you have to find balance. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, and verse. I just get straight to the point at 12. It says, and further by these, my son, be admonished of making many books, there is no end. Right. So that's why we don't even, we know we don't need to deal with these extra biblical sources, to be honest with you, to be real. All we need is the scriptures. Now, are there some extra biblical sources that prove what the Bible is saying, even though the Bible proves itself? Yeah, we can go into secular history and things of that nature and prove some of the things that we're saying, but all we need to know is that it's in the scriptures at the end of the day. All right, and this is the point that I wanted. It says, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. So with that being understood, man, you have to know when to study and when to give yourself a mental break. All right, because you can try to overload yourself. I've seen it many times while I was in high school or college, where I have a final, And you will see people stand up to the final at 9 o'clock. People stay up all night till 6, 7 in the morning, just trying to cram all this information into their brain. And then you throw it up. You just throw it up. That's why it says this in the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 25, verse 16. Hast thou find honey? Eat so much as is sufficient for thee, lest thou be filled therewith and vomited. So you don't want to try to do too much, man. Everything has to be done in measure. Everything has to be done in measure. All right. That's very important to understand and to know yourself and know, okay, I got this much done. Now I just look like I'm just looking at words on the page or whatever it may be, or I'm just listening to somebody talk. Give yourself a break and know when it's time to come back to it. Now, that's not to say be slothful and say, oh, well, I read one verse today and everything is fine. I did my reading. No, it's sometimes you have to know, all right, when it's Satan trying to get you not to read, and you got to push through that. All right, that's when that spiritual discernment comes in. Or it can literally be, okay, I need a break right now. I've read 10 chapters or whatever it may be. Let me take a break. All right, so you have to understand and be able to discern between the two. And the other thing that I want to get into before I get into these articles is why did I grab this one? Salakia. Oh yeah. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 24, right? In verse Salakia, chapter 38 and verse 24. It says, the wisdom of a learned man cometh by opportunity of leisure, and he that hath little business shall become wise. All right, so you have to also make sure that you're setting that time aside for study, specifically for study, and to really dive into what it is that you're trying to find in the spirit. All right, praying, fasting, and then getting straight to it. All right. Oh, that's another one. I can't not grab that. I think it's in James, the first chapter, what I'm looking for. Right? Because first and foremost, we understand that the wisdom comes from on high. All right. Wisdom comes from on high from Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. So first and foremost, you definitely need to be praying, fasting, and so on and so forth for whatever that it is, for whatever it is that you need to know. All right. So we'll just start at the top. James 1:1. James, a servant of the Most High and of the Lord Yahweh Shai Mashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into divers temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let your patience have a perfect work, that you may be perfected and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of the Most High, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given. Right? So if you need wisdom on a topic, and if you asking sincerely, hey, the Lord will give it to you, man. Verse 6, but let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea driven with the wind and tossed. So you got to pray, man, and really believe that the Lord will give you the answers that you're searching for. All right. And it's in due time. You might not always get the answers right now. All right. It's been times where I've been going over the breakdowns, and it was something that I didn't understand, and I didn't get the breakdown till a year later. But that's a part of patience, and your patience possesses your souls. All right. So yeah, I just wanted to get that. You definitely got to make sure that you ask in the Lord for that wisdom and setting the time aside, because you need that leisure. As it said here, the wisdom of a learned man cometh by opportunity of leisure. You need that time that you can set aside. I want to look up this word leisure real quick. Let's see. Yeah. Leisure. So circa 1300, leisure, free time at one's disposal, opportunity to do something, chance, occasion, an opportune time, also a lack of hurry. Capacity, ability, freedom to do something, permission, spare time, free will, idleness, inactivity, to be allowed. I seen somewhere where it went into reading too. Free from business, idle, occupied. What's this? License. Okay, well, that's the point, man. But again, it's about making sure you're setting aside that free time so you can get that study in. All right, because if you always on the go and you're not setting that time aside, hey, you will never grow. You will never sit aside and some time to read and study, man. All right. And the next thing that I want to get into before I get these articles is going into, hey, every brother is not the same. All right. Every brother is not the same. One brother learns can learn a totally different way than the next brother. All right. So I want to grab this precept real quick. I just had it. There we go. It's 27. All right. So this is the book of Sirach, chapter 37. It says in verse 27, it says, my son, prove thy soul and thy life and see what is evil for it and give not that unto it. And this is the point that I wanted right here in verse 28. It says, for all things are not profitable for all men, neither have every soul pleasure in everything. Right. So this is going into just for a prime example. Some brothers are able to drink and hold their liquor and still function. Some brothers drink and get into all types of folly and mischief. All right. So with that understanding, hey, it's just because it's lawful don't mean you should do it. All things are lawful, but not all things are expedient, right? But this verse 28 is really what I wanted to hone in on. For all things are not profitable for all men, neither hath every soul pleasure in everything. So what I want to do next is go into different styles of study and learning. All right, because you got to understand that just because one brother learns one way doesn't mean that it's going to be profitable for you. You have to figure out what's good for you, your soul, and your growth, and attack your learning in that manner. Okay, and and as we go through the rest of this lesson, Lord willing, it won't be too much longer. I'll also use myself as an example, and Lord willing, I will remember to put these links into the description box as well, because I'm not going to go through every little word of these, but if a brother is interested in trying to figure out what their learning style is, what the best note-taking style, for themselves are, it'll be in the description box, Lord willing. So I want to start here with this article I have here. It's from teachingchannel.com. All right, and the title of it is 4 types of learners, because one thing that they teach you when you in school is that you have 4 main types of four main ways that individuals learn, and they call it right here. You can see the VARK model, and just getting straight into it, I'll read a little bit of it. It says 4 types of learners in education. The 4 types of learners in education include visual, auditory, reading/writing, and kinesthetic. And that's where you get that VARK from: visual, auditory, reading, writing, and kinesthetic. All right. It said, it is important to develop lesson plans to help all different types of learners absorb information, blah, blah, blah. Nevertheless, whatever. Because this is going into how teachers use it. But I'm pulling this up. So for this portion right here, understanding the different learning styles. All right. This is what's important to us right now, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to fall into one of these learning styles, right? I'm a mixture of a few of them, okay? But I have a main way that I learn even myself. All right, so we're going to go ahead and read through these real quick, and we just give some examples as we go. So it says, understanding learning styles. A visual learner, it said visual learners prefer to take in information using charts, maps, graphs, diagrams, and more, using images to explain concepts and ideas, and the best way to reach a visual learner. However, this type of learning style does not include photographs and videos. Instead, visual learners learn best when information is presented using patterns, shapes, and other visual aids in place of written or spoken words. One way teachers can differentiate their instruction for visual learners is by using graphic organizers to teach lessons. A flow chart might be used to explain the scientific process for example, right? So a visual learner, charts, graphs, things of that nature. All right. Like, for example, I've seen one brother had he made a chart, all right, of the whole biblical timeline history. That would be something that would be good for a visual learner to go into, because you can look at it and you can actually see it map out. All right. Next, auditory. It says the auditory learning style describes students who learn best when information is heard or spoken. They benefit from lectures, group discussions, and other strategies that involve talking things through. Often people with this preference want to sort things out by speaking first rather than sorting their ideas out then speaking. To help auditory learners learn, teachers can post audio recordings of the lessons on a class website, blah, blah, blah. So now this is something that we all deal with right here. Okay, because what do? We watch YouTube, we watch the apostles, we watch the elders, we watch various brothers upload videos, and we've all learned this way. All right, so we understand how powerful of a tool this auditory learning is. Now, I do want to add too that one thing that might help auditory learners could be something as simple as they might not like to sit and read, right? One thing that can help them is as they're reading the Bible, they can actually have the audio of the scriptures playing as they read along with them, and that will fill that need for an auditory style of learning. You see what I'm saying? So this is how, that's a prime example of how understanding how you prefer to learn can help to push you forward and catapult you onto a different level through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right. So then reading and writing preferences. It says students who have a reading and writing preference prefer information to be presented using words. They love to read and perform well on written assignments such as stories or book reports. This preference emphasizes text-based input and output, reading and writing in all its forms. So going into just reading the scriptures, man, understanding that, reading articles, you have elder brothers. The first one that comes to mind is Elder Malcolm. He reads a lot of books, and he retains a lot of information. That way it makes him a much more powerful teacher and speaker, because he has this wealth of knowledge that he can pull from just off reading the various books that he reads. All right. So that's a prime example of that. And this is another one that we all do, because we all sit and read the scriptures. All right. So that's important to understand. Now, the next one is kinesthetic, which this is where I thrive in myself the most. Kinesthetic learners learn best when they can use tactile experiences and carry out a physical activity to practice applying new information. People who prefer this mode are connected to reality either through concrete personal experiences, examples, practice, or simulations, right? So essentially you learn by doing. The more you do something, the more you pick up on it and the more you learn. And that's why for me, one of the things that allowed me to grow in the spirit was a mixture of the kinesthetic and the auditory. All right. Because I will watch the videos, learn, and do my reading. And this is what I mean when you have the mixture, right? When you mix them all together and the doses in which you'll need it. Because I was watching the videos, visual, auditory, auditory would have been, or reading as well. Then the auditory was having conversations with people, and then the teaching. All right. To me, the having the conversation and going back and forth with the scriptures and actually being able to, now you writing it down and so on and so forth, you reading it back to yourself. All of those things play a huge part in knowing how you study and learn. I had one brother, he was expressing to me how with his learning style, what he was doing was, of course, he was doing his reading, right? But he would watch videos and take notes. And after he would get done taking notes, he would act like he was on the line himself and teach. Act like he was teaching, and he acted like a scoffer came up and pretty much kind of recite, so to speak, the video that he just learned. And that allowed him to get on a level to where he when he was ready to no longer be a parrot, but actually have the understanding of the scriptures. All right. Here in Chicago, we got something for kinesthetic called the scoff games. Well, we line up, act like, scoffer, act like we on the line. And one of the elder brothers would give scoffing questions, and you have to give the rebuttal to the answers like as if you're on the line. That's the idea for a kinesthetic learner. All right. So you have to understand those. Now, I just want to tackle this real quick, because you have different styles of note taking too, because you have to be able to organize your notes in a way that best suits you. All right. So here I have I will remember, Lord willing, to put this in the description box for anybody that want to do it. It has 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 5 different methods of note taking, and it has the Cornell method, the outlining method, All right, the mapping method. See, and it was talking about it fits because understanding the way that you learn can also help you understand what type of notes you could be taking. Because we had the visual learners, right? Who it said they learned best with where is it at? Yeah, it said instead visual learners learn best when information is presented using patterns, shapes, and other visual aids in place of written or spoken words, right? So for a visual learner, this type of style, the mapping method, might be heavily preferred, in figuring out how they would take their notes. The charting method and the census method. All right. So, like I said, Lord willing, I'll remember to put this in the description box, and if brothers need to, they can go down the rabbit hole because this is just 5 different methods of taking notes. All right. There's many out there that you can find out how to do it. This is the method right here that has always stuck with me. All right. The Cornell method. Okay. So the Cornell method is essentially, actually, because I can explain it. Well, we'll just read this section. It says the Cornell method. The Cornell method provides a systematic format for condensing and organizing notes without laborious recopying. After writing the notes in the main space, use the left-hand space to label each idea and detail with the word or cue. It says rule the paper with a 2-inch margin. On the left, having a 6-inch area. On the right, to make notes during class, take down information. We're not going to read all that. I'll just show you my notebook, Lord willing. Advantages. Organized and systemic for recording and reviewing notes. Easy format for pulling out major concepts and ideas. Simple and efficient, saves time and effort. Do it right in the first place system. Disadvantages, none. And this is why I prefer this method because as I said, man, it makes it easy for you to really organize those notes. All right, so let me see. Find one that's much more clear. And again, this is something that I've tried different styles of note taking, and for me, for my learning, for my growth, this is the style that helped me the most. All right, let me see. I'm trying to find one that's a little bit Slovakia for not having this ready too. All right, here we go right here. So, actually, what I do is I take a picture of it and then I throw it on the screen, and that should work. And Slovakia, I know my handwriting is crazy, something crazy, but nevertheless, you should be able to get the gist just from off the picture I'm about to share alone. Just give me 1 second. I have to get it up to the laptop. Bam. And what I'm gonna do is this is what I'm gonna do. Bam. Make that full screen. It won't let me enlarge it. All right, cool. So this is what we're gonna do. And I just want to show this, and this will be an example of the Cornell notes. All right. So I gotta stop sharing that. Present, share screen. All right. So Lord willing, you can see this. Like I said, Salakia about my handwriting. I know it's kind of crazy. I can read it though. So with the Cornell note system, all you would do is at the top, at the heading, you would part whatever the topic was. So as you can see, these was notes for Revelation, the 9th chapter. And how I do it is I put on the side Revelation 9 and 1. These will be all my notes for the Revelation, the 9th chapter, the first verse. Then 3, 4, got the precepts there. And it just like it said, man, it just makes it that much easier, to organize and see what you're doing and what you're reading, and that's just how I personally prefer to take my notes. All right, but as we seen, man, there's many different ways that you can do note taking, man. It's many different ways that you can study, even with those four major um styles of learning, right? Even with that, man, is many others. Those are just the four main ones. So you can even do some more deep diving and some more research on that, and just figure out what'll be good for you, man, and what'll help you grow in the spirit. All right, and of course, praying, fasting. Ask the Lord. We read that James, man. Ask the Lord for more wisdom, and He'll give it liberally. All right, so Lord willing, this was an edifying lesson. It went a little bit longer than I thought it would. But Lord willing, this was edifying, man. With that, I want to say, call halal, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone who taught us this truth. Shalom to the 144,000, as well as to the rest of the hopeful righteous elect, men, women, and children of Israel scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth, man. Shalom, Kwam Yasharala, Wa Abba Babal.